TF2 prides itself on the motto of easy to play, hard to master. Anyone can pick up the game, go pyro, spin around a circle, and kill some sad spy. But anyone who spent a tad bit more time comes face to face with a massive amount of mechanics the game has, like rocket jumping, weapon fall off, air blast, trick steps, second scoping, hiding uber, wrangler jumps, bunny hopping, spy smoke, trimping, grenade jumps, damage surfing, sentry surfing, random crits, damage ramp up, juggling, and many more.
What?
Fortunately, new players can take TF2's tutorial and training to be taught all these vital tactics. Unfortunately, TF2's tutorial and training doesn't actually teach them any of it. TF2's training mode consists of 4 different tutorials, one for soldier, demo, spy, and engineer. I'm pretty sure there are 9 classes, but we'll be looking at each one individually, seeing if they teach players the essentials or just the bare bones. The soldier training is comprised of 2 parts. One teaching you the basic mechanics of the game like moving, weapon switching, shooting, and crouching, stuff that makes Raisin Bran look dynamic, while the second half places you in a pseudo practice match of Dust Bowl, telling the player how to actually play the game mode by capping the points and allowing them to actually fight something that will shoot back. What I especially like about this training stage is the introduction of the medic and engineer class, showing how they work and function by having them naturally be in a match with text pop-ups and playing them a tad bit better. Reminds me a lot about the tutorials in Half-Life 2, telling the player without actually telling them. Of course, in TF2 it's done with text telling them to drive the point home. And that's where my praises for this tutorial stop. The training mode was added in 2010 with the Mac update, the same year Ben 10 Ultimate Alien Cosmic Destruction was made, so having a baby basic tutorial that tells you how to move the mouse is fine and dandy. What isn't, however, is how these 2 tutorials try and pass themselves off as a soldier training. I get it, soldier considered the Mario of TF2, overall average and basic, and I'll agree that having him be the class that teaches baby's first FPS is fine. But calling it soldier training, and never even making mention of rocket jumping, is as stupid as 7% of Americans thinking chocolate milk comes from brown cows. All that they had to add was a little segment saying soldier can fire his rocket launcher at his feet, launching him into the air, jump, and then fire the rocket to reach atop these crates. Boom, hit the staples button. As mentioned prior, I do genuinely like the Dust Bowl section and its character intros with the engineer and medic, setting up how these classes are supposed to act and play without yet playing them. The only issue is that, once again, there are 9 classes in the game, and we only have 2 of these being shown. And the medic demonstration doesn't actually pop Uber Charge, by the way. You tell the player what it is, how a medic can get it, even highlighting that little progress bar. But because the enemy bots in this game mode are designed to miss you deliberately, they'll never take enough damage to trigger the medic's Uber on its own. Sure, you can use the voice command to tell the medic to pop, but hey, once again, nowhere is that information explained to you. Hell, me saying bot medics will pop if you activate the charge voice line might be some people's first ever experience with that information, even with hundreds of hours in the game. As for some other class introductions that can be worked into the training mode, having a friendly scout help you capture the first point while describing his superior speed and increased capture rate would be nice. Pyro had the ability to air blast for 2 years up to that point, and yet no mention of projecting and reflecting back projectiles is seen, teaching players not to just shoot blindly at pyros, but also to get those gears turning in their heads for when they switch to play pyro. Demo has his own in-depth tutorial, yet the Dust Bowl training section provides a near-perfect learning opportunity and introduce the demo. Seriously, all that was needed was a little text pop-up here. See those spiky balls on the ground? They aren't candy, those are sticky bombs. Shoot them with your rocket launcher to spread them away or your shotgun to destroy them. As for Sniper, we just need a simple demonstration of his long-range lethality and a small showcase of his select slaughter skills.
Thanks, mate.
The next training section showcased is Demo. You have a grenade launcher, it blows people up. You have a sticky bomb launcher, it also blows people up. You have a bottle, but you never use that one. Similar to the soldier training, you are never once told or informed about sticky jumping, so get up on those crates yet again. Unlike soldier training though, which at least told you some basic stuff, the demo training tells you nothing, especially when it comes to his strongest tools, the sticky bombs. The essence of sticky traps, sticky spamming, destroying buildings, or hiding stickies away from your enemies is nowhere to be seen. Another issue I have is that the bottle isn't used at all within this training segment. First problem is obvious, if you shoot someone too close you take self-damage, but my second issue requires a bit more explanation. As I mentioned prior, the training mode was added in 2010. At this point in time, several updates had already passed, adding some class-changing weapons such as the Sandwich, Ubersaw, Eyelander, and Charge and Targe. As a new player, taking the training mode for the first time, it should show you how the stock weapons work and function, so when you get that weapon unlock, you know how it differs from stock. It's a nice little Karma Charger showcase of the weapon before you get something new. In my perfect world anyways, where I made the fucking training mode. Overall, Demo's training isn't too trash, looking more like Quebec rather than full-on France. Not like that says much. 2 training sections to go. Truly, these won't be as trash. Right? Oh no! To give some leniency, Engineer and Spy are definitely the most complex classes to describe. Engineer not only has his weapons, but his buildings as well, which add an extra 4 layers of complexity, and Spy is entirely based around understanding your enemy's brain. I have absolutely zero praise for the Engineer tutorial though, as it's done more harm than good. Aside from not using both the shotgun and pistol in it, and aside from giving out flat-out information, and aside from not having a spy not sap your buildings, teaching people that they can remove them, and aside from not having a friendly building spawn in so they can upgrade and repair it too, the most heinous and hideous thing this training segment teaches is this, right here. Teaching turtling. The reason why so many new engineers place their dispensers right next to their sentry is because that's what the game taught them to do exactly, instead of placing them to support their teammates or away from their sentries so both their buildings aren't being hit at the same time. There's also the issue of building placement being poorly taught. Overall, engineer training is as useless as a philosophy degree. Spy training rattles my brain. I'll give some leniency here since making a tutorial based on enemy behavior can't be easy, but my brain still leaks out a little bit. You see, the friendly spy puts on a disguise first to sneak past the sentry, just to also go invisible to sneak past the sentry for insurance, I guess. This section isn't needed. Just tell the player to go invis, sneak around, and then discuss disguises. No need for a bot. Automation is already taking away good Midwestern jobs. After sapping, we get to stabbing, and kudos to Valve for having disguised enemy spy on the lineups to show what that looks like. And that's the only thing they got right here. Once again, you don't use a revolver for anything, meaning you can't compare it to a good weapon like the Diamondback. You don't take an enemy engineer's teleporter, so that's never taught, nor do you disguise yourself and use an enemy dispenser. But both of those pale in comparison when you realize that this training section makes no mention of how being bumped into people while invisible reveals you. It's kind of a big deal, Valve. Thought he was your favorite class, Gabe. Just forgot to teach that.
Thanks, and have fun.
There also exists some other issues with the training section as a whole that aren't really specific to any one section. Random crits can occur, but aren't explained at all. Enemy spies can spawn and will disguise, but aren't explained until the spy training section. Seriously, you want me to shoot my teammate? You're asking for a court-martial here, mate. Crouch jumping isn't taught. That's a big one, trust me. Auto reload. Like, come on, who doesn't have that on by now? And obviously a repeat, but there are only 4 out of 9 classes being taught here instead of all 9. I get that heavy scout and sniper are extremely basic classes on paper, but some introduction to them is better than none. And that doesn't excuse the extremely complex and crazed medic from not having one. This Dust Bowl segment does not do enough. And as a result, it's placed upon me and my shitty SFM skills to somehow solve this scrambled situation and come to a solution. Scout's superior speed and mobility make him specialized for flanking enemies and capturing objectives with his signature scattergun and double jump ability. Scout is a class people can only truly learn and understand by playing as him and dying 90 times. Failure is the greatest teacher after all, but even basic tutorials don't really share much insight. A simple demonstration of some ability and extra capture rate is all that's really needed here. Prioritizing fighting enemies in close proximity, Pyro wields a flamethrower which sets enemies on fire, dealing damage over time. His air blast ability reflects back any projectiles to their sender and deals increased damage in addition to extinguishing teammates who are on fire. Tie this in as air blast training so we can have less WM1 and fewer medics scream for their pyro to save them. Having a nice friendly teammate on fire and a soldier and demo shoot at you so you have to air blast introduces the idea well enough, but there should also be some mention of spy checking. Having a spy turn invisible in front of the player and then being told to go and find them using your flamethrower. The largest and toughest of the 9 classes, but also the slowest. The Heavy wields a minigun that shreds through enemies within close range but requires time to rev it up and fire, reducing his movement even more. His shotgun can be used while on the move when revving your minigun is too risky. Heavy is boring and basic, and there's very little to go in depth about him that a tutorial can teach you without delving into his unlocks. Fire the minigun at a couple of guys, watch your ammo, and use your shotgun when revving takes too long. Basic as a white girl at JCPenney. Focused on picking off priority targets like medics and engineers at long range, Sniper requires precision to get the job done. His sniper rifle charges up while scoped in, dealing more damage but also greatly limits his vision. Watch out for other classes sneaking up on you, especially spies, and use your SMG to deal up with close battles. Same as Heavy, a simple target gallery of a medic, scout, heavy, and pyro teaching the player about classes having different health and, as a result, different charge times. Like Denver, there's not much here either. Finally, we have Medic, a class that should have had its own training tutorial, but Valve's dog ate their homework and we never got it. Medic supports and heals teammates with the Medigun. Healing them past full HP grants them additional health called Overheal. Healing teammates also builds Uber Charge. At 100% Uber, you can activate it for a brief invulnerability between you and your healing target for pushing the front lines. The Medic tutorial will demonstrate the Medic's main power being the Medigun, spawning in a bunch of friendly faces to compare Overheal health amounts in addition to some injured ones, with a point being made about how healing injured players builds up Uber faster compared to fully healed ones. All of this builds up to Uber charging a Heavy and destroying an enemy sentry around the corner, followed by a short section starring the Bone Saw and Syringe Gun, showing the newbie how pathetically weak they are and how they should let the big guys with the big guns do work instead of suiciding straight into the enemy team.